live. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode here of the Corona Geek On Air show, where we talk about everything that has to do with mobile development using the Corona SDK. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Charles McKeever, and I'm joined here in the studio with Dr. Brian Burton.
Hello.
And Toph Ward.
Hey, how's it going?
Today we're going to talk about a variety of things that are important to you as developers in the Corona SDK community. And Toph, why don't you take us through what we're going to talk about?
Sure. All right. So, as always, we always go over the latest build notes because they really are important when you're building. We've got a newbie question about screenshotting. We've got some really cool blog highlight where they were talking about the number of iOS downloads. I'll give you percentages a little bit. And then we have this gotta feed GARP. Did I even get that correctly?
Yeah, that's good.
That's okay. That's the whole title, gotta feed GARP. Okay, so it's app review, obviously, as opposed to my buddy GARP over here who just, hungry. iPhone app search on the device news, because we talked a little bit about the iPhone 5, but we've been living with it now, so we've got some of the, commode cleaning issues we got to talk about. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about a JSON connection, and we've got a really good example that we were using but had to tweak a little bit, so we're going to talk about that. And then just basically wrap it all up.
All right, so let's jump into the latest build notes then, because there's some interesting stuff in there since the last time we met. Brian, you pulled this out. I think is an interesting point to point out. In build 923, they had to make some changes to the way that the print statement works for printing to the terminal. So tell me what's going on there.
Right. As of last Thursday, if you get the most recent build, if you're using a print to see what's happening inside your app or to display current variable values or that you've reached a specific point, that's no longer going to the terminal window. That's going to the NS log, and that's due to a change that had to be made because of updates to the Xcode. That's not something Corona necessarily wanted to do, but they were forced to do that. For consistency, it was applied to both the iOS and the Android portion of the app. So your print statements aren't going to show up in the terminal window if you've updated to 923 or newer. They're going to be an NS log.
Okay, and so just for those who don't know, like myself, NS log is what?
NS log is a file that's created as part of your app for capturing print or terminal output information while the app's running.
Okay, and so is that it's actually an actual log file, so we're going to have to go...
Yeah, it's just a simple text file that's being created for while the app's running.
Okay. Toph, are you showing us your calendar for some reason?
Oh, sorry.
Other than that, there's... that's a significant change, I assume. Because now we're not...
Well, it's a workaround, according to the build notes.
Okay.
I am hoping it goes back to being displayed in the terminal window, because having that in the terminal window for on-the-fly finding out what's going on is invaluable as a developer. Okay. But this was forced, as I understand it, upon them by changes implemented by Apple to be able to handle builds correctly. So
a temporary bump in the road.
Yeah, this is a temporary bump, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah, and it's just more of a convenience than anything else to get that information to the terminal. So
yeah, it's just it's going to slow down seeing what's happening.
Okay. Apart from that, there was basically a bunch of other bug fixes in the other releases, and I'll let you go check those out on the release notes on the Corona Labs website. But the other notable piece was 925. There was basically for Android, they added Nook, HD, and HD Plus support, which I thought was fairly important, considering those are new devices that have been recently announced, and if you want to build for those, now you can. Is that fairly accurate?
That's my understanding. If you're going to publish to Barnes & Nobles, that would be
an important piece.
Yeah, that would be important to have. Yeah.
Give you the right tools to do the right job. Okay, so so that's it for release notes and build notes. Newbie questions. Let's move on into newbie questions. I've been trying to spend some more time out on the forums, which you can find over at coronalabs.com. If you're a developer, you can get in there, and I think you can, as a general, I think in the general public can get into portions of it, right? I mean, you can register. Am I correct in that? You can register and get into the forum?
Yes.
And then if you're a developer, a registered paid developer, then you get access to
There's
more
a
of it.
there's a subset of the forums that
Okay.
you can get into.
Well,
But anybody can get in as a test driver and be able to post questions and.
Which is a great place to, by the way, because there's so many people who are just actively out there. I mean, I've asked questions before, and people are pretty quick about getting out there and answering questions for you.
Yeah, I've got to say, the Corona community is one of the best developer communities I've ever come across. There's a few other good ones out there, but as far as support and patience with new people that just have, you've got the newbie questions, the patience is great. And, we all start out as newbies, and I think there's an understanding in the development environment on Corona that there's a lot of new people constantly coming in. And now with Corona having over 150,000 developers registered, this is, the community's growing by leaps and bounds. It's an exciting time to be developing with Corona.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been in there. I can firsthand say that I've been in there asking brand new questions, and nobody's ever been snippy or said, well, that's already been answered over here,
Okay.
or I mean, you go to some forums, regardless of the topic, and people are they'll eat you alive.
I know. And I've even been to some of these places where it's like, it literally has, okay, ask your newbie questions here. Okay, so you ask a newbie question, and they just like smack you down. You're like, oh, really? This is the newbie question. I mean, this is like the bunny slope, and yes, I realize I'm probably asking the exact same question that's been asked 8 other times, but I didn't ask it, so.
Yeah, no, they're very good. So I was trying to spend some more time in the forums, and one for my own understanding, and two maybe to hopefully answer a question if I happen to know the answer to it, which is never going to happen. I mean, not at this stage of it. But I did see some questions that were asked on how to do print screens, how to take a screenshot of your app so that you could use it for submitting to Apple or to the Play Store, the Google Play Store or whatever. And Peach Pellin, who is, ever vigilant, always in there doing her thing, she said that the Xcode simulator has a grab screen that you can use using, I'm assuming this is Xcode. So we're on the Mac. We're doing for the iOS. If you use Option Command plus S. Oh no, I'm sorry. It says a screen grab option, which if you use Command S, it'll save a screenshot while you're using it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Of
course, you've always got the snip tool and screen capture tools that are available if you want to capture from the Corona simulator.
Yeah, and another great tool, and I've got it over here, is Skitch. I mean,
Yep.
Skitch is a pretty popular tool, and it goes right into Evernote and all those types of things. So a little benefit, but it's a fairly decent tool. Now, I assume you'd have to. I mean, it's not an exact tool like doing a screen grab, so you'd have to line it up as best you could, and then go back and do a little fiddling with it. But it's an excellent tool. You don't need Photoshop or anything like that. So after that, somebody asked, well, where does that screenshot go? It creates a screenshot, but where does it go? And so she came back and she said that it depends on the version of Xcode that you have. One version did have an issue. She says, I believe that was 4.2. But if you have a working version, basically it's in the library/application support/developer/shared/Xcode/screenshots.
Apple does like to bury it, doesn't it?
It does. It's crazy. Anytime I see anything that's in the library, I'm like, oh goodness. Here we go. Yeah, you gotta. It's best to go up to the top of your the top menu bar and just go and then
Search.
paste in the address, because it's a nightmare. And some of that stuff is hidden. I don't know about that particular one, but some stuff that's like in the library or whatever, the application support, I mean, you can't get to those things unless you already know the path to it. So anyway, we'll post that in the show notes so that you can have access to it, and those are great tips. So let's move on to the Corona blog highlights.
I had a really interesting thought on this one. Obviously been doing web development for quite a while, and getting people to upgrade their browser is really pulling teeth. I mean, and it's always been that way. It's just been, for whatever reason, they don't upgrade their browser. Now, here we are with all these really cool iPods, iPhones, iPads, all the good mobile equipment, and Apple releases iOS 6, and bam, with it, and I'm using bam. I can't even remember the cook who does that. Who does that?
I know you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll think of it.
Cajun cook guy.
Tonight. But anyway, you've got almost half. I mean, it was like 44.58% of the people in under a week upgraded to iOS 6. That's huge. I mean, really comparatively. I mean, we've been fighting browser upgrades for an ungodly amount of years, and then all of a sudden, in the App Store, somebody goes, "Oh, look, your iOS just upgraded. Boom, download, install, we're done." Really? Really? I mean, this whole rapidly moving to the next version of something is rather beneficial as a developer, because I know you've got the latest and greatest. And if half of you are doing this within a week, that means that my rate of adoption needs to be much, much faster than it's ever been previously.
Well, here's one of the things that I think is interesting: the difference in ecosystems between iOS and, let's say, Android. Is when I follow the Android blogs and news and everything pretty closely, and it's always a matter of, hey, this device is getting honeycomb, or this device is getting gingerbread, or this device is getting and it's always like there's always excitement because their device is being updated to the current version, but the current versions are always 2 versions back, and it's not like everybody gets Jelly Bean right off the bat, or can go out and get it, and it's because each hardware, each OEM pushes out their updates separately. So yeah, this is it's a great thing to see something like that be so up to date so quickly. I'm sure Microsoft would knock off a world leader if they could get those types of stats.
Apple.
Of course, I mean, Apple has kind of the advantage, though, right? I don't know what their costs are on it, but they can kind of subsidize software with the hardware. I mean, they're you get the iOS 6 update for free. You don't pay for that. I mean, and even their Mountain Lion was what, like $20 or something, $30, whatever the price was on that. So it would be great if everything was like that. So yeah, so I'm going to go put the link in the show notes to the Friday night forum discussion where they talked about the adoption rates for iOS 6, how they're on the rise. And so if you're doing any kind of development on the iOS side of the house, just know that it's quickly approaching the point where you could probably just say iOS 6 is required. Which goes right along with Corona Labs, right? They said here recently that they're only going to support one version back, just for this very point that Apple is pushing so hard to get everybody updated to the latest and greatest.
Right. It's only going to run on Lion and Mountain Lion.
Yeah,
on the PC, on the Mac side.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm not sure what they're going to do on Windows as far as.
We're all waiting to see what's going to happen with Windows.
Right. Yeah, and later on we'll talk about some stats that that are put out by for JokeShake. We talked about that last week, and Dean Murphy, the developer of that app, he released some stats for his app that kind of correlate to the same thing that we're seeing here for the adoption rate of iOS 6. It's kind of some interesting stuff. We'll talk about that in just a little bit here. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the app review. Toph, Gotta Feed Garp. You got to get this, man. You got to download this for your kids. It's cool.
You really liked it?
Yeah,
I'm going to get my son to do the fainting goats because you heard him. He was so excited. He's going to be doing the Fainting Goats app review because, goats faint. I mean, how cool can that be?
That's right.
So he was really excited about that. So I love seeing, any kind of app that gets the kids excited because it's just unique or something like that.
Yeah.
So you've got the Gotta Feed Garp, right?
Yeah, I downloaded it. It's a free game. I believe it's a free game. It's free now.
It's free?
In the App Store, the Apple App Store. And it's a physics-based game, so it's kind of like I hate to even use the term, but it's an Angry Birds style game. So everything depends on physics, lobbing something over something else, bouncing things off of things, all that kind of stuff. And really your goal is to feed Garp. So you've got, cut the rope, you've got your I don't remember what the character's name is in Cut the Rope, but you've got you're feeding that character. And so once you've reached the point where your food is in the character's mouth, and that level is over. Yeah, there you go. But go ahead and bring that up on the screen. But it has added challenges of being able to hit stars. So you have so the score is based on your time, how well you do as far as time is concerned, how many stars you get as part of your solution, and then actually feeding Garp. So once you do that, the number of shots that you have to feed Garp. So once you've done all those things, then they calculate a score, and then if you want, you can go back and you can play it again to get a better score. So it's a pretty neat little game. I mean, Garp isn't really all that big of a, I don't know. To me, he's just the end point. I don't really see him as being too interactive. It's just once the food's reached him, that level's over. So it has the difficulty increases as you go from level to level. So it starts out real simple. You just have to get I think like an orange wedge. You have to get it over some blocks and feed Garp, and then apart from that, then it starts to get a little more complicated. Yeah. And I like these guys. They've really come out. Paper Robot Studios. They've really come out with some great stuff. If you see here, yeah, there's the game kind of in action. They've got some really great graphics. So whoever they've got doing their graphic design is really good. They've got some. You can tell they've got some art direction going on because everything comes together. So there's never a piece of it that feels like it's odd or separate. Even the menu system is all brought together graphically. I mean, it's all the same style. It has the same look and feel. Everything's got that children's room sort of feel to it. It's all got kind of a texture. Everything's got texture. You see there on the screen how things seem like they're it's like cardboard, or there's torn edges, or just has that kind of that paper fabric texture feel to it, which is kind of cool. Gives a little bit of depth. And so each food, as you progress, so you've got strawberries there on the screen, and you also have oranges. So as you progress, they kind of give you some teasers of all the in-app purchase things that you could possibly buy. So the fruit or the food becomes different. So like the orange itself, it has a certain physical properties to it. So like it's like heavy and dense, and when you throw it, it kind of lobs over and it doesn't bounce very much. But then at some point, if you do well enough, then they'll upgrade you to a strawberry, and the strawberry then does the same thing, but it bounces. So it's got a little better physical property to it, or a little different physical property to it than the orange does, which I thought was a great thing, because really these are all just objects. It's just a visual representation of an object that's got physics applied to it. So by changing it from something that naturally would be heavy and dense and would not bounce to something that's a little more rubbery, and strawberry would actually bounce. I thought that was kind of smart. I was like,
Yes.
not just changing its properties, but changing its properties based on like its real life characteristics. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. So you can do in-app purchases if you want. The game is free, like I said, but you can make the ads go away. You can buy food packs. You can buy things like shot markers, and these are things that help you in the game. So kind of help you, like crosshairs, kind of line up where you're going. Shot tracers if you want to see kind of where your shot went, so that you can help yourself on the next shot. You can buy those. If you want to unlock levels, I think there's like 4 levels in the game when you first start out. But if you want to buy extra levels, you can. You can unlock every level that's in the game. And then one of the things I thought was really smart on their part was they have all these individual in-app purchases that you can buy, like the food packs and the levels and the remove the ads and things like that. And those are all 99 cents here, 99 cents there. But if you want to buy a combo pack, then they give you the option for that as well. So they kind of bundle everything up, and then they have this combo pack that you can buy for like $2.99, which will do, get rid of the ads, unlock the levels, that kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of smart, to not just give people these individual in-app purchase items, but to also bundle it up into a combo that they could buy in case they wanted to buy more than one thing. Let's see what else was here. So I overall, it's definitely a fun game. The only thing that I found that's a little annoying is, and I hate to even use the word annoying because it's probably too strong, but it is that when you do the level 1, if you, for whatever reason, if you want to go back and play level 1 again, every time that you do level 1, it gives you the tutorial. It tells you the story of Garp and how he came to be, and what your objective is in the game, which are maybe like 2 or 3 screens that you can just go ahead and just tap through if you want. But if I've already played level 1 once, I probably don't need the instructions again. But you could argue that either way. But that was, apart from that's the only problem the game has. It's doing well. It's really fast. Everything is is snappy. There's no delays in load time. There's no delays in transitions between screens. It feels like it's just a really crisp, interactive app.
Actually, I was thinking more along the lines of their art direction was genius.
Oh yeah,
he's wearing underpants.
Oh yeah. He's a baby. And they even
targeting. That's elementary school right there. Because I don't know if your kids have the Captain Underpants collection, but
oh no, we do read the Captain Underpants books though.
Yeah, see, as I said, I'm telling you, it's that whole elementary school. You put any critter in underpants and you got a hit. Now, if he belches and farts as well, yeah, you're just over the top. You're gonna.
Yeah, it has a 5 o'clock shadow.
Exactly. Just saying.
Feed Rufus. So yeah, that's a fun app. I definitely would recommend it. Go check it out. It's especially from a developer standpoint. Go look at what they've done and make notes of all the best pieces, because I think that when you put a game together, they've hit on most of the common things that you see these days in games. So why not look at good examples of that and try to borrow the best parts.
Cool.
All right, so let's move on to the App Store changes. So anybody want to throw in on Apple App Store changes? Is that going to hurt developers or help them, or is it yet to be seen?
Go ahead.
Come on now, y'all get in there.
No, you do it. In my opinion, we need to wait and see, because going from a card view, from a list view, that's just, a lot of people like the list view, but a lot of people like the card view.
Sure.
It's I played with it a little bit. It makes sure that I've got an image up there to look at. I get to see the screenshots every single time. So, this is a wait to be seen type thing.
Well, I definitely like the big card view. The fact that you get an image of the app is great, and definitely is something that we should point out to people, that this is an opportunity. This is a place to tell the story in one picture about what your app is and why, what fun or benefit or whatever it is that someone's going to get out of your app. I mean, it's the money shot.
Right.
So don't leave it to be just,
Yeah, and this is where your artist really becomes critical inside whatever you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Having that 512 by 512 screenshot that's going to be on the App Store, it's got to be what sells. This is where you need to bring in marketing people and put your team together to create something that's going to sell it. Whereas a list view, you had the name. You didn't have as much information as with the card view.
So
it just puts more emphasis on the artist.
So Toph, what's going on? I can see you're smiling. What is going on in your brain?
Okay. The worst place to try to find a new app is using iTunes Store. Bottom line, it has always been like that. Right. It just sucks. I actually go to Google if I want to go find a new app, because I can find things in whatever genre. I can find things. Kind of sad that I can't actually go to iTunes to really find what I'm looking for. I need to go to Google, because I've never really been really good with iTunes. I'm sure there's a secret squirrel combination, control option command tab, lift your left foot, pee on the carpet, and you can find what you want. But it doesn't work for me, so I have to go to Google to find stuff.
Yeah,
peeing on the carpet may not work with your wife either.
Well, we have a cat. I can blame the cat. But yeah, the whole idea of it didn't work for me to begin with, and now they're changing it and basically making it from bad to impossible. So if you're a new developer and you're trying to get your stuff out there, you will be found iTunes. Just sorry, you have to go market your own app outside and hope somebody in Google picks you up, because what's going to happen is that if you are already being found or recommended by Apple, man, you've got that cool screen, and oh yeah, you're going to be sold even more than you were before. Now, if you are an absolute newbie, nobody, this is my first app, no history, good luck, because they're not going to find you via iTunes. They're going to have to find you in some other venue or some other way.
Yeah, I know, I agree, and this is the same thing. It's not a problem that's unique to Apple. Microsoft had this same problem. Probably, still, I don't search for that much stuff on the Microsoft site anymore. But back in the day when I was doing, mobile development for their platform, I used to look stuff up all the time on Google to get to the Microsoft site, and so. It's not unique to Apple, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Inside of iTunes is it stinks, and yeah, and I'd have to say that at least with the list view before, from a consumer standpoint, I could flip through a bunch of apps, and the icon was certainly one of the selling points. It was one of the did they spend enough time on that? Does that mean that they spent more time on the app? I would judge a book by its cover or judge an app by its icon, but at least I could scroll through 25 or so of those at a time. Whereas here is, if I search for something specific and I don't come back with exactly what I'm looking for, I may have, let's just say, 300 results, and I have to scroll through each of them one at a time. I'm assuming that Apple thinks you're going to just do your search again. That you're going to not find what you're looking for, and you're going to do your search again, and you're not going to scroll through 300.
When you're saying one at a time, you're bringing up one app at a time.
Yeah.
Because when I do a search, I get little cards, and it may have 50 on one page.
Are you looking in the category, or are you actually doing a search for the app? If you go to
I am looking in the category.
Yeah,
so
yeah. If you look
I didn't do a search.
Yeah. Now, if you do the category, it's not so bad if you're at the category level, because they still have apps kind of in a list view. But if you search for it, then it becomes this card view, and you can only see like a portion of the app on the left and a portion of the app on the right, and then you get the whatever app you're looking at is center screen. And if you want to go through and swipe through,
So
you have to swipe through.
what we're saying is stick to the category search instead of the.
Yes.
It's definitely
Searching
better
for
that
something.
way. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something specific, yeah, if you go and you just put running in, you're going to get a bunch of results back. And before, let's say that I had 25 results and I flipped through. Well, before, if I wanted to go back to the beginning of those results, I could tap on the time at the top of the device, and it would automatically scroll me up, which is I think is an iOS feature or something, right? Well, now it doesn't do that. So if I've swiped left 25 times and I want to go back to the second app in the thing, well, I've got to do my search all over again, or I've got to swipe back 25 times to get back to the. So I think there's some issues there. I'm not sure exactly what Apple was thinking. It definitely looks better on the iPhone 5 than it does on the previous screens. It's definitely more squished on the previous screens, or at least feels cramped.
Maybe the difference is how we do our purchases, because I usually do mine through the iTunes store on my laptop or desktop instead of through.
Yeah. No, it looks
So-
better on the.
Which could be an older generation thing. You know,
I've done I don't know because I've done most of my purchases are through the app, you know, and
Okay.
and so I don't know. I think it is. You're right though. It's a difference between how someone wants to, like Toph says he goes to Google. I go through the device and you go through the computer. So right there we've got three people, all the same age group, who are we're using it three different ways.
right.
I
So
will
remember that when you're developing your app, that you've got people searching for it in multiple different ways,
There you go. Yeah, there.
and you got to be ready for that.
Well, and it's also, if you do the search on the iPad, it's beautiful on the iPad. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's arguably
Comparatively,
much better, yes, than it is on the phone. So, and there's arguments, and I will post the comments. There's a whole thread in the Corona forum where people are. It's mixed, So, I mean, but for the most part, people don't like it. The developers don't like it, and they feel like they're beholden to Apple,
they were anyhow. We all are.
Well, it's true. It's true.
Nothing's changed.
Well, but you I don't know if you ever saw Raising Arizona. He says there's what is and there's what is, and never the two twain shall meet. And sure, they were beholden before, but now I think people, it's obvious.
It's more obvious.
It's more obvious, and people realize it, and they realize that. And I was using this analogy earlier, Chris. I wrote a book and I put it in the library, and I'm waiting for people to read it, And it's like, well, did you do any talk shows? Did you do any book signings? Did you? No, I gave it to the library, and I'm sure that somebody will check it out soon.
Card catalog.
The card catalog will save us all, So yeah, you'd have to do some promotion outside of that, but I just don't know from a user interface standpoint. I don't know what they're.
Well, and we'll go ahead and promote this now. We will have in a future episode some marketing experts on here that can talk about how to get your app found, and of course we should go ahead and mention that Corona Labs helps with that.
Yes.
They do help with the promotion. Again, none of us are affiliated with Corona Labs. It's just simply
Groupies.
we're groupies. Yeah.
Corona Groupies. I wonder if that domain name is available.
Quick, look that one
Better
up.
get it quick.
That's right. Okay, well, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
basically it's yet to be seen. I know there's a lot of discussion right now around app discovery, and we'll put some links into the show notes. VentureBeats put some information out on this. There's some services out there that are popping up around app discovery. So I think
Which does lead to our next topic.
So
That Gamasutra just posted an interesting little article out there that Apple has changed its rules on using these app promotional resources that are available, where you show other people's apps as part of your app, and your app gets included on their apps, and it's a free service. Apple, according to the Gamasutra article, has nixed that. You cannot new apps that promote apps that are not yours are going to be rejected.
Huh. Well, that's okay. So, and that's, you think that's new apps? That's not.
I believe that's new apps. This is a recent rule change. So, Apple hasn't been known in the past to go through and toss out apps that have been previously approved.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Last week we talked about JokeShake, and JokeShake does one of those where he's got it's ad supported. So after you've used the app for a period of time, then it pops up and asks you if you want to download another app. But of course, I've clicked on it, and when I go there, it's not an app that he's produced. It's somebody else's app. So it's I don't know how that's any different. I guess it's well, I was going to say I don't know how it's any different than putting a banner ad down at the bottom that promotes an app, but I guess it could be considered confusing
Yes.
to people. So
Yeah, you're allowed to promote your own apps. It's just using these other app services that, at least this is my interpretation. I'm not a lawyer or work for Apple or anything like that. My interpretation is if you are advertising other people's apps through your app, you run the risk of being rejected.
okay, so yeah, so
And
that
rejection sucks. So
right, yeah, exactly, yeah, because there's not a whole lot you can do apart from regroup and try to go at it from a different angle. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Speaking of JokeShake, I wanted to share some of the stats that he put out, and it's kind of on topic here with the promotion and stuff like that. Do you have that there? Yeah, Toss got it there. Awesome. And so, let me bring that up. If you'll scroll up a little bit, sir. Yeah. So basically, he put out his app just prior to the iPhone 5 launch, and then from there he had he had an initial push, and then things kind of tapered off, and then right before the iPhone 5 launch, and of course iOS 6 was on Wednesday, right? It was on a Wednesday launch, and then
yes.
the official iPhone launch. So right there he saw some uptick of downloads for his app, and then of course it kind of tapered off after the event, after the fervor of the iPhone 5 kicked off. But if you scroll down, Toph, he said that kind of mirrored what we talked about earlier, is the adoption rate for iOS 6 has been fairly significant, and but he also adds here that he's seeing that his app is available on the iPhone and the iPad, and so he's seeing basically, what does it say there, that after 1 week of iOS 6 launched, there's over 70% of the iPhone was using my app, and iOS 6 for iOS 6, and then for iOS 5 was on the iPad. So people weren't updating their iPads so much as they were updating their iPhones.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, he's saying 70% within 1 week after iOS 6 launched, 70% of his customers were already on iOS 6 on the iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah, he said iPad users, however, are polar opposites, and around 70% are still on iOS 5. So I thought that was interesting. And then I asked him if he was going to publish a follow-up to this, and he said he would. So hopefully we'll get to see what those numbers shake out after there's been some time. But I don't know. I wonder why it would be different for iPad versus iPhone.
Because my iPad actually sits in the living room instead of on me. Think about it. You got your iPhone, and you're constantly plugging it into the computer. You're constantly swapping out apps. You're constantly doing stuff. With the iPad, I'm only doing that every now and then. I know you do it like on a second-by-second basis, but really and truly, my iPad, that's a cool little thing I use, and so I just don't plug it into the computer nearly as often as I do my phone.
Thank you for recognizing the difference in our usage patterns.
Very much so.
My iPhone never leaves my side, and my iPad is always on my desk next to the left of me. So yeah, we have definitely different usage patterns. But I agree. I agree. The iPhone 5 is something that I would update more readily than the iPad. I think it probably took me at least 15 minutes or so before the iPad got updated
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
because I was waiting for the iPhone to be updated.
there you go. It's
Dude.
I'm still waiting on Service Pack 1.
That's right. You're a Service Pack 1 kind of guy, right?
I'm a Service Pack 1 person. I've been burnt too many times.
Oh, man.
Though I probably will update soon and just put up with the bad maps.
See, I'm the one that I'll go out and get the mountain lion and throw it on there, and then let everybody else know what they're supposed to. Don't do this because it kills your screen flow, or it does this, or it does that.
yeah.
I had to upgrade something, but anyway. But no, so that's good. Those are lots of stats there, and again, is it still bad? Is it still bad that 30% of the iPads are updated already? I mean, that's still a good number.
That's incredible.
Still
In less than a week.
Yeah, and I think that'll definitely improve. All right, so anything else on that? Anybody want to talk about? Want to move on to JSON?
Yeah, let's see. Why don't you go ahead and move on to JSON?
Okay, yeah, we're coming up. We're coming up on the 45-minute mark here. Let's see. So, one of the prior shows we talked about using JSON to be able to get information from a remote server, be able to push information back and forth in the Corona SDK, and I wanted to find a good example of that already being accomplished. So, thanks to Rob Miracle, who is a very active person in the Corona Labs forums, he published a full tutorial on how to basically he didn't show you how to create your database, but he gave you the layout for your database, he gave you the code for the website, and he gave you the code for your app. So here, yeah, there you go, on OmniGeek. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes, but essentially what we're talking about here is he developed the skeleton here of a Corona app that makes a call to a remote website that then pulls information from a database and then returns it to the app. So you have Corona, you have PHP, MySQL, all are involved in this tutorial. And since we do a lot of web development around here, I was able to go out and create a database, MySQL database, basically about six columns, first name, last name, username, password, that sort of thing, and then connected up to this web app that he had provided. And from there, once I got the web application running, it was just a matter of going into the Corona project and setting up the Corona code that he gave and connecting it to that remote website. Now, there are a couple of gotchas. We're going to put this tutorial in the show notes, but there are a couple of gotchas that you'll need to know. If you're an advanced, or I wouldn't say an advanced, but if you're an experienced web person or somebody who's worked with websites before, you shouldn't have any problems figuring out how to get around some of the gotchas here. But if you do, we're going to try to put together our own tutorial off of this, where we'll go through everything from database all the way up to the app. But basically, in Rob's example, he said that he had kind of put this together for people to look at, but there were some issues with it. There were some things like in the database, in the code, he had actually made reference to an email field that wasn't in the database, so that caused some problems. And then also in the app code, there was some ordering of Corona code that affected the operation of the app. So basically what we did was we went through and figured out, okay, drop out the email database field piece for the web app, get that going. And then on the app side, we were able to see that, scroll down top, if you scroll down a little bit where it says app code in this example, basically he's got, right there, he defines the JSON, he defines the player name, the password, all that stuff like that, and then he does a network.request call. And then below that, there's some more Lua code for the callback function. Well, the only problem with this example is that if you copied and pasted that if you copied and pasted that one on top of the other in line, it wouldn't work because
Right.
the callback function wasn't defined yet. So there was some. So basically, what I'm trying to say is there were some ordering problems that we ran into in this example. That said, it's still a really good example. So if you're gonna take on looking at this as is, just be aware there are a couple of gotchas. But this is a really great example because the mobile app does a couple of things. It encodes the URLs that are the parameters in the URL that are passed to the remote website. So your username, your password are protected, and then once it's passed that information to the remote website then takes those values, decodes them, does a password MD5 hash comparison, which is just a geeky way of saying that the password is encrypted in the database. So now you got to make sure the two match. The website does a lookup of the database. If it matches the user that's in the database, then it returns a status to the app that at the as far as his example is concerned, will either print out that it's a good user, like welcome back, whoever, or it'll say that it's a bad password or there was some sort of network error or whatever. But for the most part, this is a great example because it has all the components here. It's got the database, it's got the website, it's got the app itself. So if you're looking for a good example, it's all here. And what we'll do as part of the show notes is I will actually post what I'll call the corrected version, the full working version of the app code. We'll publish that as maybe a GitHub or something like that, and that way people can download it and look. But Rob did a great job. I really appreciate him putting this together because it takes a lot of time and effort to put these tutorials together, and he's kind of giving you all the pieces to be able to get something up and working.
Yeah, I'll definitely do hat tip to Rob because it's really easy to criticize somebody else's code, but you can tell the amount of time he spent coming up with writing it all up and
Yes.
explaining it and giving you an example. I mean, this is probably, I'd be willing to bet this is something that he started working on at like about 10 o'clock, thinking, well, I'll just, knock this out an hour. And then around 2 a.m., he said, screw it, I'm publishing.
Right, right. Yeah, I read a forum thread on the Corona Lab site, or actually, I think at the time it was the Ansca Mobile because this was back in April. But I read a forum thread where he was, kind of answering questions for people who didn't know how to install, who didn't know how to set up a database from MySQL or anything like that. And he'd said, look, I'm sure there are some issues with the code because I wrote this. It was late at night. I was really tired, and he'd actually taken some of this code from a working project and brought it over. So it's really meant to be here's the general concept, here's the general idea sort of thing.
Academic.
Yeah, academic. Here's some things to look at. So apart from that, it really is a good example. But so now I've got a working app. Basically what it does is I've taken his example and I've been able to go a little further where I put some text fields in a group. I've got a button and I've got a label, and whenever I put the username password in and hit the button, it goes off and hits the web server and either responds with welcome back whoever I logged in as, or gives me bad password, try again. So from his example I'm able to create the beginnings of an app that does something pretty cool, I think. And this is all in the app side of things is only like 20 lines of code. The Corona app code is only like 20 lines long if you take out all the spaces and the comments and all that kind of stuff like that. And then for the web side of things, the PHP code is only about 60 lines long, and and so not a whole lot. No, a lot of functionality and a little bit of code. Now, the one thing I want to get to is I want to actually get to the point where I pull back the information and I stuff it in a database locally. To me, that's the ultimate goal. Because
Well, I'm really on board with that because the little mapping app that I want to do,
Hmm.
I really, really like the idea of not having to republish my app via iTunes in order to get it to any kind of update. I don't really want to do that. I basically want to store it on the website, web database. Okay, here's the map, here's the info, here's all of this. Oh, we're changing something. Well, inside my app, I can click a little sync button or update button, and it'll go back to the website database, update itself, and then we're done. I don't have to update my app in order to get new maps or new images or new text. So this is highly valuable for me in my experiment.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And I've seen some HTML5 apps, they go out and do a remote call to some website, pull in data, and then the next time you need something, next time you start the app or something, you have to go make that same call to get the freshest content, which is fine. You always want to do a remote call to pull in fresh content, but it's a bad user experience because depending on your connection, it can be a very slow process. So
Mhm.
I would rather have build the app so that it does all that in the behind the scenes, stores it in the database. The next time I open the app shows me the last thing that I looked at, and then goes out and does a refresh behind the scenes, and then notifies me there's new information or just updates the screen or whatever. So much better user experience. So that's my goal. That's my goal, to get to a point where I'm using JSON to do a remote call to a database, pull that information back, stuff it into the local database, and then have that cycle be able to continue without any sort of interaction. That's it. That's the example we came across. So I'll put all that in the show notes. I hope I did a job explaining it. Sometimes it's hard to convey code. I mean, it's hard. You don't think it is, but it's because it's in your head already, and you've already been there. But sometimes it's kind of like herding cats mentally.
I did that last week when I started talking through my stuff, and I went, "Okay, if anybody understands anything I'm talking about, it'll be just absolutely amazing." So,
Yeah. I'm sure somebody out there is just riveted, and then the rest of everybody's like, "What?"
where's the translation program for this?
That's right. That's right. I just need a button for it. All right. So anything else you guys want to talk about before we head out? I think that's a lot
Good for now.
to cover for today. Okay. So thanks for joining us. This is a weekly show, if we haven't said that already. Every Monday, 2 p.m. Central Time, we are here talking about mobile development and the Corona SDK. You can go to our website at coronageek.com and check out all the articles that are there, and you can click on Brian's book and go off to his website at burtonsmediagroup.com and purchase his book over there. You can do a variety of things. You can watch the videos that we have over at youtube.com/coronageek. You can see all the previous shows where we've talked about the Corona SDK and mobile development. And you can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/coronageek. If there's something out there that you want to communicate with us on, it's probably /coronageek, and if not, let me know at questions@coronageek.com, and I will set it up for sure. Because we want to talk to you, and we want to hear what you've got going on in your apps. How are you promoting your app? What issues are you running into? What features of Corona do you like, or would you like to see different? Things like that. We can't necessarily do anything about it directly because, like we said, we don't work for Corona Labs. But as groupies, we can certainly reach out to the community with you and try to find some solutions. So thanks for joining us today, and join us back here next Monday, 2 p.m. Central, and for next week's Corona Geek.
And we've got a special.
Oh, do we?
We do.
We've got a special coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess we can.
Do we want to announce that?
Yeah, we can announce that. Let's go ahead and announce that. This Wednesday, this is what you're talking about, right? This is the special you're talking
Yes.
about? Okay.
Yes.
This Wednesday, we're going to have Walter Liu on, and he's going to talk with us about Corona and the state of mobile development and entrepreneurship and whatever else that we can drag out of him. So that's going to be at 1 p.m. Central Time. So if you have the availability, check us out on Wednesday. This Wednesday coming. This will be the 3rd, right? October 3rd, 1 p.m.
Yeah.
Right here, same time, or same place rather. And
Same hangout.
If you same hangout, yeah, exactly. So if you do have questions for Walter, and you want us to ask something on the hangout, go ahead and leave the comments below and let us know so that we can pass those questions along to him on Wednesday. All right.
It's a good opportunity.
It is a good opportunity. It's a great opportunity. Yeah, he's a busy guy, so you got to nail him down when you can. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.